Hello, I'm so happy to be here with you guys again today. Thanks for all the new subscribers. We're so happy to have you here. I am so blessed to call this woman a soul sister. She's not just a guest, she's a dear, dear close friend of mine that happens to live on the other side of the world in France. But Erica, I am so happy to have you here today. I want you to introduce yourself. I could say so much, but I'll let you introduce yourself and what you're up to in the world.
Oh, Dawn, thank you so much for having me. And I agree, you have been not only a soul sister, but a rock and a voice of reasoning and an anchor of compassion on more times than I can remember. And I'm just like, every time I'm like, I'm so freaking grateful for you that I get to have you in my life. I'm so blessed.
Likewise.
Yes, I am. So I am a dating, relationship, and sex expert for men, and I've been doing this for about 17 years now. And the majority of my career was coaching, healing. Right now, we're very focused on selling online courses and that sort of thing. But my whole career has been out of like healing people to bring them back to their hearts so that they can encounter love, especially like for themselves. Like first and foremost, do you know how freaking lovable you are? And most people just don't.
Oh gosh. How do you help people realize how lovable they are? Because I bet so many of our listeners are going, yeah, how do I feel about that? It's almost one of those things that seems very airy-fairy. Like, oh, I'm supposed to love myself, self-love. But when it really comes down to it, it is the most foundational, so imperative that we have that self-love for our journey in this life.
You need an experience. You need someone coming in your life, just like in this moment, and making a proclamation over your life and saying, I dub you lovable. I call you lovable. I call you valuable, that there's no one on this planet like you. You carry a story, you carry a heart like none other. And the more you allow the world to see you, the more access you have to love. You know, the Bible says that we love him. We love Christ because Christ first loved us. And I believe we all have to have that experience. And I know we all want to put it in a package from something we've seen from a Hollywood movie. It's like, well, someone has to come into my life and tell me they love me, or, it needed to come from my parents. And I'm like, no, sometimes it's just a YouTuber, or sometimes it's just a conversation like this for us to say, girlfriend, guy friend, listen, you are so freaking lovable. I don't care if every experience has told you that you are not lovable. Those experiences are wrong, because the truth is that you're loved. You can say, well, I don't see it, I don't feel it. Okay, well, let's just start with that proclamation. Will you give me a chance to release those words into your life? And will you just play a game with me and say, what if she's right? What if? And sometimes it's just that experience of someone from somewhere just coming in and saying, you know what? I call you loved. I see that you're loved. And then the journey really begins from there. But I believe that, like, when some of us have been so hurt, so isolated, so abandoned, and when you hear someone say, you have to love yourself, it's too much, it's too far. But if someone shows up in their life and says, hey, I see you and I call you lovable, and I say you're so lovely, and there's nobody like you, baby. There's nobody like you. And then you start helping them gather evidence for that. Like write it down. Like I always used to tell my clients, like, what are the things that set you apart? And if you don't know that answer, then find three people that you trust and say, please just write down 10 things that you really like about me. And I remember doing this exercise for myself just intuitively. I went to some close girlfriends in a time where I really like all of my self-hatred was being exposed in a relationship, like deep self-hatred, deep, deep, deep. And so I was like on this journey of like, whoa, 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 where am I lovable? And I remember going to these friends and saying, where do you find me? Like, what do you love about me? What do you like? And they all wrote a list, and it was like, what did I see about myself? And it was like, that's wrong, and that's wrong, and that's wrong, because this is what people see about me. And I choose to partner with their truth over my life. Even if I don't see it, even if I don't feel it, even if I don't believe it, I make the intention to partner with what they're saying because I trust these people. And if I don't trust myself, at least I trust them and what they see in me. And I choose to partner with that. And I would just look at that list and be like, and cry and cry and cry back. They say I'm compassionate. They say I'm a giver. They say I'm smart. And it was just like every time that experience of self-hatred would come up of like, you're stupid, you're a bitch, you're ah. And I'd just be like, actually, I have evidence right here, mofo. And contrary to what you keep telling me, this is the evidence. This is what it says here. So I'm gonna believe that because that feels freaking better than the crap you're telling me.
I love that. I call that borrowing faith. It's borrowing faith that there is some timeline in the future where you have recognized and acknowledged that you already have everything in you. And so from a futuring perspective, I always see it as like we're borrowing from the future, that in the quantum field, this energy of who we get to be. But I love how you're saying and making it so practical. Go to the loved ones, the people that can really see you, and have them reflect back to you all the beauty that you possess, so that instead of having it be this intellectual thing, it is this, well, when you were saying the proclamation, I love that. And I could feel that. I know that you've done that with me, where you proclaim over somebody how amazing they are. But so that experience, but then also hearing very tangible, practical things like you are this. And so people can start to really see that within themselves. And you work with men, right? Like, how do you speak into men's hearts and get them? Because men, I feel like, are so protected and so defended in some ways, but maybe underneath that armor, they're a little bit more sensitive. I don't know, because I've worked with men, but not in to the degree that you do. So I'm so curious, how do you get into their hearts and their vulnerability?
One, I just love them so much. Like which is so crazy because I have had such a journey also with men where there's been a lot of like hate and like I could kill them. And so it's just crazy that God's like put me in this path to love on men where most of my wounds, they come from my father and parents and all that, as all of ours do. But one, I'm starting off from a place where when they show up with me, there's that compassion that my friends saw back in 2010, where they were really just like sharing with me. I think it's a gift from God that I have for these men. And when I get on a Zoom with them, when I see them, it's a gift because as soon as I see them, there's a ton of compassion for them. And I'm just straight with them. I don't fluff anything. And I'm a ball buster. So when I see the arrogance come out, when I see the self-protection, I speak to it. You're in self-protection mode right now. You found my YouTube video. You're paying me. You hired me. What do you want to do here? Do you want to stay where you are or do you want to go? And because they feel that my subscribers always say, I really feel like you care. And so when they come from that of seeing YouTube after YouTube and they're like, hey, she actually cares. But then it's that confrontation of like, who's going to win here? Your pride or the truth of what I see in you? This is your battle. Only you can win. Who are you going to let win here? And men just, oh my God, they have the most beautiful heart and they work so hard and they just want truth and they just want to love women. And I'm like, I love that about you. But first, can we get you to love on you? And it's a hard challenge for men when they've been so conditioned, like who you are is how you provide, or who you are is, what you can prove to this world and go, no, 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 no. Who you are as a human being, like those core things that make you you, that is lovable. Like you're born out of love. So I feel like knowing that they're cared for, but also having the courage to confront the obvious is very important with men.
The fact that you can speak truth like that is such a gift. I love that. I love being that sacred mirror for others as well. But it does take a deep level of confidence because it can be very confronting for people, right? But when you're coming from that place of such compassion, I know you care and you have such compassion. Don't you feel like being a truth teller is such an amazing gift, but I also feel, Erica, that it doesn't just stop with our clients. It really has to start within ourselves as well. Like the truths I've had to tell myself in order for me to show up full on with the people I want to serve. It's something that most people don't talk about. It is a form, I really believe it is a form or a transmission of healing because when it can come from a pure place, it can change lives.
Yes, yes, yes.
But
I know I'll never forget. I had this ex-boyfriend, you know him, you've met him, and I'll never forget one night we were broken up and he was really, really drunk. So he was speaking his truth. And he said, Erica, you are the most difficult person to be in a relationship with. And I was like, oh, why? Thank you. And he said, you're such a freaking mirror. And I think that that is, it's a constant journey, which I'm like obsessed with healing and making myself better. Like I'm going to a retreat next weekend. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. When people are like, what kind of retreat? I'm like, I'm basically gonna like lay on a mat and like cry out trauma and it's do some breath work. I'm like, it's gonna be great.
yeah, it's gonna be so fun.
I love this. I every time I work with a healer, they're like, I've never seen someone so happy to deal with their shit. And I'm like, it's because I've been doing it for 20 years. And I know on the other side of that, I always have more freedom. And that's why. But I think with the whole truth telling thing, I think it is such a journey because as truthful as I am with my clients, I could see in my personal relationships with my friends, I was not truthful. And I've had so many of my girlfriends call me out on them. Be like, you don't tell me the truth. You don't. I just had one call me out. I was just in Italy and she was like, she had hair gel on her face and I didn't say anything. I was like, I don't know about your style of hair. And she was like, you let me go all day with it. And she was like, it's like that. Okay. Okay, sis. And like, that's been my journey. It's like, I can, with men, I can be like this. But then with my girlfriends, it's really freaking hard because, you know, you and I were kind of riffing before we got on. It's like, women, we want to deal with each other with like kit gloves and we want to be compatible. And so it's been that's been my personal struggle as telling my girlfriends the truth. Um, but it's back to telling myself the truth. And I feel like for me, my journey has not been just that straightforward. It's like whatever my nervous system can handle, like whatever, like I'm just now, gonna be 45 and I've been doing healing work for since my 20s. I hope this gives hope to people because I know sometimes when you watch people speaking, they're like, oh, they have it all figured out. No, no, no. So I've been on this healing journey for what, almost 25 years, and I am just now to this day. It's a clip, sorry. I don't know
Oh,
if you see
to
my
this
girlfriend
day.
to this day. I I've had coaches, I've had people say to me like, Erica, I feel like, you know, that's what you're saying is a bit victim, like you this was your part. And I'm like, go yourself. Like, you don't know me, you don't know my story. And I'm just now 25 years later going, holy crap. I knew I had a victim mentality, but to deal with that and to go into situations now and go, no, 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 no. There doesn't even need to be a 50-50 of you did this wrong. No, no. In this situation, I was a total a-hole and I did this wrong. And that's on me. And yes, it's trauma and yes, it's this, but I am 45 years old and I have to take responsibility. But it's taken me 25 years of being in healing to get to that. And I think I had such shame around being a victim because on the outside, I'm strong and I'm powerful. I can confront and all this. But that is like a whole other beast of like taking full responsibility of when you keep making shit happen in your life and it's like no no no, it's not me, I'm in healing, I'm doing this, I'm changing people's lives, it's not me, it's them. And then for someone Dawn to show up in your life and be like, hey, that situation that you just were in, you were mean and you were walking out in your maiden archetype energy. I cried for a week when you told me that and I was like, oh my God, that is me. This is me. I can't keep freaking pointing the finger at everybody. But I say that to say, like, that's taken years of my nervous system, of me feeling safe with myself. and me trusting myself, because I think none of us want to be a victim. But if you just try to go after that victim mentality, that victim mindset, that posture in life, and your nervous system isn't up to par to really support you to say, hey, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay, you're going to be safe. If you put that horse before the cart before the horse in that scenario, it's a disaster. Like, I just want to say it's taken me 25 years to feel safe in my body, to feel safe in my experiences in life, to know how to regulate myself most of the time, to go, oh shit, I'm the perpetrator in this. I'm the one, I'm stirring the pot here. It's me.
It's such big work, Erica. It's such big work because I think so much of our victim energy that any of us plays out is so it's unconscious. We're not aware that we're even doing it. And I remember years ago where I was playing this role in my life and I was in my business doing spiritual healing and teaching and all this kind of stuff. And yet, behind closed doors in my personal life, I was a victim to my partner at the time that I was with. And everything that was wrong in my life was his fault. Everything that was not going the way that I wanted. And if I just had this in order, then everything would be so much better. And I couldn't see that I was just trying to win this race of being a victim. It was so unconscious to me until certain circumstances, held up the mirror to me and I got to see. But I think we play these roles in our life. And then one day, through God's grace, we see who we really are, or how we're showing up, like you're saying. But I think the victim archetype, it plays out in all everywhere. And it's once we decide to wake up and be like, you know what? As from my point of awareness that I have today, I am going to take full responsibility for my life. And that's when everything changes.
And to go a step back to our original, the beginning where we started about the proclamation, like for me to be on this journey right now, I needed you because there was a scenario in my life that I was totally in victim mode. I was like, oh, this person's doing this and they're doing that. And I was like, at least I had the hindsight to go, okay, at least tell the truth to Dawn, because you trust Dawn and and you and your wisdom, you said, babe, do you want to know the truth? If not, I'm not going to tell you. But if you want to hear it, it's here. And it was back to what I was saying earlier about, like, sometimes we just need that proclamation of someone pronouncing that we are loved over our life. And sometimes we need that person who's going to stand up and have that proclamation of truth in our life to set us on that journey. Because you telling me that has set me on a total different journey in my life. I'm on a different trajectory now because you told me the truth. And by the way, my therapist, Tanya, who you know, I told her about this scenario and she was like, Erica, that was so courageous of Dawn to share that with you. And that was so loving. And she took a big risk telling you that. And that was such a big gift that she gave to you. And I was like, I know. I'm so lucky.
Well, it's because you and I have the foundation. And back when you were saying earlier with your friends and not being able to tell them the truth, it's challenging when you're friends with somebody to share with them these truths that you get. I'm at a point now where I always ask permission because sometimes people are asking me to listen and other times they're asking maybe for my advice. But I don't know if they're asking for my advice as just to cheer them up and be like, hey, everything's going to be okay. And to kind of be in that, agreeing, or to be showing up in such a way where I'm going to share something that's coming through that I'm seeing for them. So it's not the easiest thing to do. And so I've gotten to a point where I'm always asking permission nowadays because I've realized that it can be a lot to hold. But you handled it with such grace. You and I have that foundation where I knew I could, if I asked your permission, you said yes. I was like, okay, but that kind of truth to see within ourselves unlocks, like you're saying, it can unlock an entire new trajectory.
It's true.
And it's once that happens, it's kind of like, okay. So sometimes I feel like healing is doing certain things within ourselves, right? Like maybe we go do the breath work or we get the energy healing, and sometimes it's just acknowledging the truth that's right in front of our face.
And I think, back to like to talk about relationships, I've always had this theory in my 17 years of coaching that real healing doesn't begin until you're in relationship. Because, and I come from Bali, like I lived in Bali for 5 years, and I know a lot of my single friends there. I could tell when I would say this, it was like pointing a needle at them because people are doing very extreme things to heal now. We're doing ayahuasca and mushrooms, and we're moving to Bali for a month, and we're working with healers, and we're throwing up, and people are doing frog medicine. And there's all this purging, all these big extreme things that we're doing to heal. And that all has a place, and that has all been valuable to a degree. But the integrative work to embody what we are wanting to become is through relationship. And so, had you and I not had this history of building safety and trust and love and compassion and support and showing up for one another, I wouldn't have gotten that truth. I mean, it would have taken, and so it goes back to like that interdependence of we really need relationship, and we really need to create containers where the integrative work can take its place. Otherwise, I just see it in so many people, and people that like just someone recently I had to unfollow on Instagram, and I was like, oh, bless them. They're talking such a big game about healing, but what they're doing right now is so
I wonder if it's
toxic.
the same person I unfollowed yesterday.
Yeah, I was like, you guys are re-traumatizing each other. And I'm like, this is not sacred and it's not freedom. It is trauma. And it's like somewhere I think you can go from healing, 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 but if you don't have that integrative part, the boring part, the mundane of just doing life, and then in the safety of doing life, issues come up, you show your ass, and then you're like, you need a friend to come and be like, hey, that wasn't cool what you did. You hurt another human being, and that's not okay. And that's not who you are. And that's not what you're about. But I love you, and you can do better.
Yeah.
It's that thing that's not so glamorous that you don't pay $5,000 to go to Bali for. It's just creating and cultivating those relationships where the actual healing can begin to start integrating within your, I don't know, you have better words for this, like the embodiment of it, or
Yeah, well, even your nervous system, because what you're saying to me, so it's so important what you're saying, and for our listeners to hear this, healing does require a level of safety. And so I have been in both scenarios where I've been in a very unhealthy dynamic that didn't allow me to feel safe. And so much of my healing work was just me trying to do it, but it wasn't through the relationship. It was more of a catalyst to get me to heal. Whereas where I'm at now with Ricky, we have this incredible opportunity to feel safe together. And then when things come up, we can talk about it. We can reflect to each other. There is a level of we have each other's back. And I think that that is so important.
my throat is like jumping as you're talking about your relationship with Ricky because I know you guys have had such honest, vulnerable conversations. And I'm like, I'm like, "Oh." I know the conversations you guys have had. I'm like, oh, that is doing the work.
Yeah, I mean,
Literally.
and you're right. You don't even realize how deep the work goes when you're in partnership with somebody and they can reflect back to you these things that are areas that you can work on or, attachment styles within the relationship. It's crazy.
But the courage of you guys to just like stay in it and not run away. Because I've been a bit of a runner, and I
Are
just
you a
look at you.
runaway bride? It's like that. Yeah.
I'm like, I just learned. I was watching my friends. It's called a disorganized attachment style, and I was like, now that makes a lot of sense right there. And I just love that, like, it's so nice to have people like you and friends who you're staying in it. Neither one of you are running away, but I'm like, oh, this is really intense. This is really hard. Will they make it? On the next episode of, and you guys just continue to stay in and you bring safe to each other. And it's just,
Well,
I
there's
always
such
think,
a deep foundation of love. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think couples realize when there's all this different stimulus. And to your point, sometimes life can be very mundane. We've had these, when our relationship was long distance and we were traveling to see each other, it was so romantic and so amazing. And like, oh my gosh, but we had things, challenges that we had to deal with, like the fact that we lived in two different states and wanted to be in the same home together. But then when we joined families and had to grow in those ways, it's like the real life stuff that you have to be really grounded and rooted to move through and allow each other the space to grow together in that circumstance. Yeah, so I love how you don't have to, I always say the sole curriculum that you need for growth is right there. We don't have to go that far. It's in the relationships, it's in the way that our lives are showing up. It's telling you exactly what you need to, because when you feel yourself, if there's a difficult conversation, whether it's with a partner or a friend or work, you feel yourself kind of going backwards or retracting into yourself and getting into that contracted state, okay, there's my work right there. Like what's happening inside of me and going and resourcing.
I'm just smiling because I'm like, every time I get in your energy, as you're talking, I'm like getting all these downloads right now about, I'm like, oh my gosh, shit, that's why I do. But every time I'm in your energy, I always get these like huge downloads as you're talking. I'm just like, I don't know if you're like giving offerings for people to work with you, but I'm like, this is just a normal conversation with Dawn. And I'm like, holy crap, the past 20 years I've been doing this. And now in this moment, I'm like,
You're so funny.
you're
Yeah.
magic, baby. You're
You,
magic.
you're magic too. Do you feel like when it comes to relationships, I feel like I just have to bring this up because this is part of one of the things that triggered me yesterday when I did actually see somebody, they were talking about polyamory. And
Yes, girl. We're talking about the same
we're talking about
people.
the same person, right? Okay.
Same people. I was like, no,
I was
no, no, no.
Well, and what's so interesting is when somebody stands on a spiritual pedestal and talks about divine union, because divine union, for our listeners, if you've never heard that term, it's basically a relationship where you grow with each other through God. And that each person holds, the different components for growth and evolution. And then same type of person saying, okay, now this doesn't work for me. Now I'm going over to like add more people into the relationship. And I don't judge anybody. If that's what somebody wants to do,
No, girl, I do. I judge.
but
I'm one
I
of
would imagine that that would convolute things a little bit and make things a little complicated.
it's always the same thing. Like, and I say this because like I lived in Bali and this is a huge thing in Bali, polyamory. And then when you give sex advice for a living, everyone wants to invite you to their sex parties. Come hang. I'm like,
I
I
bet.
know it's good. I'm good. But it's always typically what I see. It's typically the masculine who is still, there's still parts of his little boy that hasn't been integrated. And so then where he doesn't feel like he's enough, and so it's like, oh, let's bring in another woman. And then you always see the woman follow suit. She has to be brave and she has to start using the same jargon as he does and be like, no, actually, I want to go on this. And I just see it every time. And the women are just, but you can see the fragility in the women always. Like with this particular couple, I was like, I hear everything and it sounds right, but it doesn't feel right. And there's still a lot of fragility there. And maybe just give space for that. And you don't have to like be out and be like this ultimate guru. Like just give space. Like for me personally, I'll just be super honest because we're talking about other people right now. I'll just talk about myself. Like I've stepped back from talking about relationships and now I just talk about sex to my guys and I don't really talk a lot about relationships because I'm not winning in that area in my life. I know sex and I know it really well. But when it comes to like staying in relationship, my history says I'm not so good at that. So for me, I'm taking a back seat and just going, there needs to be some work here and there needs to be some experiences and as good as I am talking about relationships and as great, I'm not embodying it right now. There's still a lot of fragility inside of me when it comes to that. So I'm just going to step back and not talk about that, even though I've built my whole career on that. I'm just going to step back and go, I'm not embodying that energy. And I feel a shit ton of fragility around that. So I'm just going to be quiet and talk about what I do know, which is how to be confident with women and sex and this and that. That stuff I know. But relationships, I'm not embodying that. So in that scenario, I could feel the fragility of things. And I was just like, listen, like there's no pressure to be like this ultimate guru. That's his journey. That's his journey. But you don't have to do that. But yeah, I see a lot of women follow suit and it never ends well for anybody. I've seen these scenarios play out over and over and over again, and it never ends well.
No, and I just have to commend you, Erica, because so many people in this industry, as far as healers and coaches, guides, leaders, they want to come off a certain way. And I think there's this kind of show of like, I know everything and I'm an expert in this field. And I think for you just to say, like, right now, I'm just taking my foot off the gas pedal and I'm not going to be like fully focusing on relationships as I'm working on myself is there's so much integrity in that. It's unbelievable to me because I think it takes such a deep level of awareness to just be like, hey, I don't have all the answers. And I think actually more people want to work with you, even just from that, because you're not, that's the whole thing. Nobody has all the answers. We're all on a journey. I think as a healer, we have a modality or a specific way that we support people, but it doesn't mean like, oh, hey, I've really just figured all this stuff out. I think it's more that we're just a few years, 3 to 5 years ahead of maybe the people that we serve.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's this whole thing where everybody like wears these, it's almost like I feel like it's like a costume people wear and they're like, look at me. I'm the expert and I know everything. And it's like, really? I think we're all on a journey of trying to figure ourselves out and just at varying degrees of that.
I remember my dad like beat that into me. He was just like he was my dad was so huge on humility and your life should produce fruit. Like he always said that because you know we I grew up very Christian and charismatic and you would see these ministers who were very prophetic and could cast out demons and they were so and my dad would say no 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 like look at their fruit like how do they treat their wife, how do they treat the staff, how do they interact with the restaurant people, like watch Erica, don't judge people by their gifts, judge them by their fruit because the gifts are given from God and they're given without repentance. God gives you the gift and then what you do with it is on you. But fruit, your character, that's a you journey. And he's like, you have to watch that inside of people. And I really am grateful for that, that he really was like, be truthful, have fruit, and you better be freaking humble because if not, like I think it's important. There's I'm thinking of the retreat that I'm going to and the guy that I you know, I'm not like a cult follower, but a lot of the stuff he says I'm in agreement with. Some of the stuff I'm like, okay, but too far. Like, come down, come down. But I really respect this man because he's constantly staying in that truth of like, he's like, yeah, so me and my wife, you know, wow, we really blew it. And I couldn't like my ego just needed to be right. And I would just kept fighting with her and fighting with her. And I respect that. And I remember telling someone in Bali about him and they're like, oh, I don't like him. He focuses too much on masculine and feminine energy, which I was thinking, I was like, yeah, because you're not embodying your masculine energy. But I was like, no, what I love about him is whether if he's extreme on stuff or not, is the fact that he stays in truth. And it's just like, yeah, I blew it here. I was nervous here. I got my ego here. And I'm like, if someone can consistently share their ass and their wins, like sign me up. I want to go on that journey with you. Show me your ass and show me your wins. Like show me both. And I want to do life with you because that's real.
Yes. Oh, I agree. I love vulnerability in leadership. It makes me feel safe. Makes me
Yeah.
feel like I'm not working with somebody that thinks that they're omnipotent and know every single thing. Because that scares me because there's such a culture right now of people that are claiming that they have all the answers. And I'm like, okay, that's not very realistic. When you work with your male clients about sex and all that, because I know you guys have to follow Erica on YouTube. She has an incredible channel. She's always putting out videos. How long have you've been doing your YouTube? I just saw something for like 16 years, right?
Years. I've been a coach for 17, YouTube 16
She's
years.
an OG when it comes to YouTube. I remember, I just have to say this. You and I were in that mastermind in 2017, and Erica was talking about YouTube and talking about whether or not she should continue doing it. And I remember the coach at the time was a little short-sighted, and I think told you that maybe you shouldn't continue doing YouTube and maybe just focus on Facebook or something. And Erica had the wisdom and the intuition to trust herself and say, no, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Like I'm just going to keep showing up. And now you've had so many incredible things that you have a huge following. You've gotten to reach probably millions of people across the world. But I'm just so proud of you that you just continued when nobody else was really doing it. That wasn't the biggest thing back then.
I guess it's like being a pioneer, and I want to say it's one of the unfortunate things of having a pioneer spirit, but it's also one of the most beautiful and rewarding is there are many dark times where it doesn't make sense and everyone's questioning you, but it's just this knowing that doesn't let go of you. And it's that divine union where God puts something inside of you and it becomes you. There's not that separation. And so you keep doing something and it doesn't make sense, but it's like when God puts that root inside of you of a dream, you just can't stop. Trust me, I've wanted to stop. And I've said many times in my career, I'm done, I'm tired. Um, but it's just that, I don't know, I don't even know what you call it. It's just this thing he puts in you, this
A
fervor. I
mission.
don't
It's a mission in your heart.
mission, and I can't stop. And so yeah, that coach said, you shouldn't do YouTube. And then for my whole career I kept saying I just want to sell online courses. Like something in my soul knew that there was going to be a time where I was going to need a break as a coach, and I'm like, there are so many other things I want to do, and I'm like, I just want to sell online courses. And my whole career people are like, yeah, you can't build a business like this. That's not. And so now our whole business is all online courses. But this was something for like 15, 16 years. People kept telling me, Erica, you can't build a business that way. You can't, it can't be done. It can't be done. It can't be done. And I'm like,
Watch me.
yeah, I disagree with you. I disagree with you. And here we are. So yes, thank you for that acknowledgement. That feels really good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, because you are someone who doesn't give up and you trust your inner voice. And I've seen your fruit. You had your TV show, you've done all these different things. And so it's so fun to see you part of you loving, well, you're teaching other people to love themselves, but part of it has been you loving yourself and believing in your own gifts so that you can serve all these people. And I can't even imagine how fun it must be it makes me blush to talk about sex all day.
I love it. I even today I take French lessons 2 hours, 4 hours a week, and 2 hours, and I just have to stop myself because everything I'm like, I just have a sex joke for everything. It's just I don't know. My dad's like that too. I don't know. I can't turn it off, and it's just so much fun for me, and it makes me excited, and men get excited about it, so it's a lot of fun.
What's been your biggest healing, like with a client? What's been one of your biggest wins with them?
Oh, well, it wasn't sex related. It was this client. This client, oh man, I will never forget this client. It goes back to someone believing in you. This client saw me on another coach's I don't know, YouTube or something. I don't know where they saw me. And they said, there was something about you. I really want to hire you to coach me. And it was for like a month-long package. And I never sold that before. And I was like, and I had this tiny little studio in LA. And so this person would come to my studio once a week and we would just work. And he's like, this is effing hard. And something happened where he had my phone number and he couldn't get a hold of me. I was in Malibu, I had no reception. And I get back to my place and I get a barrage of voice memos. You don't care about me. Everything you said
Oh,
was
wow.
effing BS. You're full of it. You said you would be there. You're not there for me. Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, it's like that. And I said, listen, tell you what, you're going to get your ass to this last session and you're going to fucking sit there and you're going to take it. Because you know why? I don't care if it's Jesus Christ or Gandhi or whoever the else you believe in. Nobody can fucking love you until you fucking learn to love yourself. Do you understand me? Now get your ass to this session and we're going to go through this.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's probably not like the most professional way to handle that. But I could feel the tension in the air, and it was a fight for this person's heart and their soul. And you could just feel the darkness just like berating them, a barrage of lies. If you're not lovable, and you could just feel the darkness of it. And I know I've had coaches in my life get violent like that, not at me, but over what, the situation was. And I was like, this is this person's paradigm. And they're used to the yelling and the screaming. So I kind of met them in their darkness and they came to the session and it was a beautiful session, but this was I'm a huge burger person. Like I just ate a burger before I did this. I love my burger. So I go out to get a burger. I'm like, whew, that was a lot of energy. And so I go and get my burger and I get a voice memo and he just was crying and choking on his words. And he said, Arica, I've never had someone fight for me and love me the way that you did. And he said, I will never be able to thank you for this. And to this day, we're still friends.
Oh,
For me, that was like,
that's beautiful. You fought for him and you proclaimed and brought that love and showed up in your embodiment. Wow, that is so, I love that story. Oh my gosh.
it was powerful.
Given all the healing you have done in your life and how you've served your clients, where do you think the future of healing is going?
Oh, I think it is going to be far more communal. I think the challenge with it is how do we cultivate safety amongst one another? But I think it's going to be far more communal. I think it's going to be more I think right now we're in this separation phase of like, I need to go to Bali. I need to go here. I need to go there. And it's like, I need to go everywhere else, but without staying within my own community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very separated energy and we're still in that energy, but I believe in a day where like because I love that there's so many coaches and healers now when as being a dating coach and people say, oh, there's another dating coach. I'm like, good, we freaking need it. We need as many coaches and healers who are good at what they do out on this planet. But I long for the day where we can create safety in our own communities and that we can heal right where we are without constantly having to run somewhere else.
I love that. And I think that's just such a important thing even for the way that we do the work. I think so many times we think something outside of us is the answer, and so often it's going internal. So it's like resourcing within ourselves and then finding that community that can hold us too, because I think we heal first within, and then when we have these reflections and energy of other people, I think it's so important. That's how we always, I think that's like back way back when there was tribes and all the different things. Like everybody, it was a village it took to heal or be with people. It wasn't just us individually just trying to figure everything out. There's always been groups of people to support. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that it's going to go more community based for sure.
I really hope so. I
Yeah.
really hope.
Yeah. I would love for listeners to know how they can work with you, how they can find you. Of course, I'll put it in the show notes, but share where they can find
My
beautiful Arica.
My YouTube is Arica with an A. So there's no E in my name. I always have to say that. It's Arica Angelo, Arica. And then it's the same on my Instagram. It's Arica Angelo. I probably don't post enough about my work on because I live in the south of France. So I'm like, beach, 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 beach. I just want to show how beautiful this place is because it's so beautiful. But yes, you can find me on both of those places.
Erica, thank you so much for this candid conversation, for sharing so much wisdom. I absolutely love this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me and sharing it with me.
Yes. And if you liked and loved this conversation, please share it with your friends. I know so many people would get so much out of this. We will see you guys again soon.